JJ Buckets here, and you've seen the title. It's pretty simple and straightforward. We are trying to figure out where the Raptors rank amongst NBA contenders going into this season. I don't think I need a bigger description than that, I really don't. So, usual drill, before I really get into things, just make sure you're leaving a like on the video. It makes a massive difference for the algorithm, and I appreciate every time you folks do it. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's hop in. Quick editor's note here. This video was originally filmed before the Mitchell to the Cavs trade went down. So the rankings had to be adjusted at the very end by me to reflect that, and some of the talking points with Miami and Cleveland obviously got an update. So just bear that in mind as you watch this video. Let's get the rankings going. For a quick explanation here, obviously we have 4 categories: favorites, serious threats, need the right circumstances to win a title, and pretenders. Now, if you look at the body of teams here, I think I was fairly generous with who I included. Take that for what you will. I did want to talk about a few teams because I thought they were interesting, but obviously there is a pretenders category for a reason. With that being said, let's hop into the first one. Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns were one of the best teams in basketball last year, and you know, contenders to a lot of people, myself included. But then they flamed out horribly against the Mavericks, and probably one of the more embarrassing eliminations in recent memory. I think it would be disingenuous to not still consider the Suns a threat, but the older that Chris Paul gets, the less of a threat that team feels like. I would still put them at serious threats, but quite honestly, they might be like right at the end of that category. New Orleans Pelicans. Now, obviously, when I said I was fairly generous with including teams, I think this was one of the teams that I had in mind when I was saying that. But with that in mind, they look good after they acquired CJ McCollum. They're getting Zion back. A lot of young guys on that team look really promising and will only get better. If Zion can stay on the court, this is a team that has a chance to do some damage this season. That being said, not enough damage to win a title. They're pretenders. The Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat are probably good enough to be considered serious threats. I don't know how much I genuinely really like their chances for a title, because I do really feel like they're missing that added element of somebody else that can shot create and play make, etc., beside for Jimmy Butler. It would be really cool if they could actually add Donovan Mitchell. I think that would be a fantastic add to that team, especially when you consider the alternative of him going to New York, because let's be honest, outside of Knicks fans, nobody really wants to see Donovan in New York. It's not a fun scenario to think about. It just creates another middling team in the East. But if he goes to Miami, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. That adds another element to this team, and quite frankly, it puts them, I'd say, from like towards the end of the serious threats category to like probably near the start of it. That being said, as it currently stands still, there's still serious threats, but just not as serious, I guess. Timberwolves. This is an interesting one. I think the Timberwolves are somewhere between the serious threats and need the right circumstances category. The Rudy Gobert trade I really like. Obviously, I think the idea there is to play him and Cat together. Cat at the 4, obviously. The reason why I think I'm gonna put them into the need the right circumstances category is because I don't think this team is the contender that it can be if Anthony Edwards doesn't really take that next leap. I think Anthony Edwards has a chance to really progress into one of the game's best. How quickly he does it really will, dictate their title chances for this season. And that's why I will say they need the right circumstances to be in that picture. The Denver Nuggets. Interesting. I think this is another team somewhere between serious threats and need the right circumstances. And I only say that because obviously Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic's second or third best players are coming back from major injuries. I do think when this team is fully healthy, they're absolutely a serious threat. And I'm going to take a little bit of a leap of faith here, I think, and say that they'll be healthy enough and that they have a reasonably alright enough roster past that to actually be serious threats this season. Listen, you have the 2-time MVP, you have one of the 3 best talents in the game in Nikola Jokic. You don't need much more outside of that to be a really damn good team. And if Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. look reasonably good, this team is a serious threat to win a title. Next up, the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks, to put it plainly, need the right circumstances. Their roster isn't that great, but on the other hand, they have, again, one of the best players in the NBA in Luka Doncic. Luka is only going to get better. That roster, though, around him is really mid. He still doesn't have that proper running mate. They just lost Jalen Brunson, too. Christian Wood is an addition, obviously is a big question mark in terms of what, how that goes. Either things go really well with Christian Wood, or, he potentially ruins their defense and has character issues in the locker room, etc., etc. They need the right circumstances. I wouldn't quite throw them into pretenders, but they definitely need the right circumstances. Cleveland Cavaliers, again, another team I think I was fairly generous with in terms of including them here, but I do really like their young core. I think I'm very much so on the record saying that. I'm pretty sure I said that and a lot when I did the Eastern Conference rankings video. I think they're a very good team. I think they have a very good future. As of now, though, pretenders. Milwaukee Bucks, probably one of the easiest on here. They go straight to the favorites category. What else? What do I really need to say here? Giannis is the best player on the planet to start. They took the Celtics, who ended up winning the East, to 7 games, and they did that without Chris Middleton. They're going to have guys back healthy. Giannis is in the peak of his career. It's a good team overall. They're easily favorites. Memphis Grizzlies. I think, probably go to the front of the serious threats category if this bracket maker will let me do it. It's okay, I'll fix it later. Again, one of the budding young teams in the league. Obviously, you have the star power of John Morant. You have Jaren Jackson Jr. there. You have some fantastic players outside that. Desmond Bane among them. You have the ultimate wild card and Canadian legend, Dylan Brooks. They're a fantastic team. Again, every single season they're going to become more and more of a serious threat. This season, I don't think they're quite there yet to be in the favorites category, but I also really don't think they're that far off. Speaking of teams, as I'm looking at this, that I was generous with, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, obviously this offseason still isn't over yet, so things could still change in terms of what's going on with this roster. I do still think there's a chance of that rumored Buddy Hield Miles Turner trade potentially going down for Russell Westbrook, and if that goes down, I really think that betters the Lakers' circumstances. Why I think they're in the category of need the right circumstances. You get a healthy LeBron, you got a healthy AD all season. I don't think you're going to really need that much more outside of it. If everybody else performs at a reasonable level past that, I think they have a chance, but it's not a good chance. Again, I think their chances significantly improve if they can land a trade to get Westbrook off the roster. As it currently stands, I wouldn't quite count them out, because why would you ever count a LeBron James-led team out? But they need a lot to fall into place. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers. I know a lot of Raptors fans weren't happy with me because they don't like the Sixers when I said that the Sixers are a damn good team in the Eastern Conference rankings, and basically hyped them up as, a team that has a chance to win a title, but they are very legitimately a team that has a chance to win a title. Again, I know this is all going to be unpopular, but I'm going to say it anyways. Listen, Joel Embiid's one of the best players on the planet. James Harden's finally getting a full offseason to rest that hamstring, which was clearly ailing him all of last season. You got some good young talent there with Tyrese Maxey. And you got some good role players, and you've added some depth to that roster. Sorry, I keep so many thoughts are passing through my head as I'm thinking about the Sixers. Generally speaking, this is probably one of the best rosters that Joel Embiid has had with the Sixers team since being there. The only other one that I think you could argue was better was that one with Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Tobias Harris. But the fit with this one I really like, and obviously Joel Embiid's a better player now than he was that season. This is a really long way of me saying I'm doubling down. They're serious threats. They're easily serious threats. They have a chance to win a title. I wouldn't quite put them into favorites, but I think they have a damn good chance. Now, the Brooklyn Nets. Wow. Talk about a team that has been through a lot this offseason. Obviously, the KD trade request, and then KD taking back the trade request when I think he eventually realized he really didn't have that much leverage in that situation. And here we are. KD's still on the roster. Kyrie's still on the roster. They've added a few pieces. They need the right circumstances to win a title. They're not far off from serious threats. I still think they're reasonably sized threats, but I think that team still is missing a good few elements to it in terms of like quality role players and supporting cast that I wouldn't quite put them into serious threats. Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls is one of the teams that I was generous with including here. They're pretenders. At the end of the day, what needs to be said outside the fact that the best player in your team is either Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan, depending on what way you want to look at it, and neither one of those two guys will ever be the best player on a championship team. So, teams that I was definitely generous with has another inclusion, the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I want to include them here because I do like some of the roster moves that they've done. I do really like the add of DeJounte Murray here, but at the end of the day, they are pretenders. I don't think I need to really go into that too much. Boston Celtics, speaking of categories I don't need to go into too much. And wow, I'm just looking at the collection of teams here at the end. Boston Celtics, favorites. They were just in the finals. Their roster got better. What more needs to be said? Los Angeles Clippers. This is an interesting one. I actually think that I'm going to put the Los Angeles Clippers into the favorites category. I really like their team. I really like how they've come together in terms of the cast that's going to be there. They're obviously going to get Kawhi Leonard and Paul George back healthy, and hopefully they still stay healthy for the entire season, because if they stay healthy for the entire season, that's a championship roster. Like, you have such a good fit, you know, with adding guys like Norman Powell, Robert Covington, John Wall even, I think, has a chance to have a good redemption story here and be a good contributor on this team. I obviously don't expect like all-star prime John Wall or anything like that. I think those days are long, long gone. But I think he has a chance to be a really good contributor for this team. I think the fit is fantastic. I think Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in basketball. You really could go on, but it's a very long way of saying the Clippers are favorites. They are definitely one of the favorites going into the next season. Golden State Warriors, again, another one that a lot needs, that there doesn't need to be a lot said here. They're the Warriors. They just won the title. They still have a lot of their pieces there. Obviously, they got a little thinner, losing some role players here and there, but at the same time, you also have young guys like Kuminga and Moody potentially coming up, so they're easily still favorites. And all that's left is the Toronto Raptors. Before, you know, I have the Raptors in here, I want to take a look at the rest of these rankings, because obviously you kind of do things in the spur of the moment and then you can look back at them and be like, wait a minute. In terms of rearranging, if we're looking at favorites, I think I would actually keep the Clippers at the front of the favorites there. I really like the Bucks as well. I like the Celtics. I actually like the order that that's in. Maybe, you know what, slide the Celtics actually in front of the Bucks. I think I'm just realizing right now that subconsciously I have the Clippers as my title favorites for this year. Oh god, this could really age poorly. Anyways, let's move on to the serious threats category. So this is the problem that I'm having right now, just being fully, I guess, open before I even rank them. I like the Raptors a little bit better than I like some of the teams at the end of the serious threats, but I also think the Raptors have a case for the need the right circumstances category. So am I dropping people down, or am I putting the Raptors in the serious threats? That's the real question here, because actually, first of all, let me rearrange this. Grizzlies go to the top of the serious threats. That and that is fine. It's looking in particular at the Heat and the Suns that I'm just here like, man, I don't know if I really love the Suns' chances that much more, or the Miami Heat's chances that much more than the Raptors. I almost feel like I should have had one category in between serious threats and need the right circumstances. For Miami, Phoenix, and Toronto. And my god, am I gonna do that? Am I gonna make a new category right now? Yeah. You know what? I think I am. let's call this Fringe Contenders. Why not? I think that's one of the phrases that I used when I was doing the Eastern Conference rankings. So I guess Fringe Contenders would be just under Serious Threads. Yeah, okay. Let's pop these down there, and I'll get into this, but I'll put Toronto in here as well. Do I want to pop the Nuggets down as well? No, let's leave that there. Do I want to pop the Timberwolves up now that I look at it, actually? Actually, no, you know what? Sorry, there's a lot going through my head right now. I should really be talking through it, but like now that I've introduced this whole new category, it makes me really rethink the, positioning of some of these teams between Fringe Contenders and need the right circumstances, because there's at least two teams here. I think the Nets and the Timberwolves that like are very close here. And I don't think there's a lot of difference between the category of Fringe Contenders and need the right circumstances, but you know what? I'm gonna leave it as is. I think this category is fine as well in terms of the order. I think I'm cool with that. I mean, obviously you have Kevin Durant on the Nets, which is a big swing factor to potentially argue over the Timberwolves, but I think I like the Timberwolves roster as a whole better. And Pretenders, I actually think that's the order I would have the Pretenders in. Okay, sorry, that was a wild card that I didn't expect to have at this point, just adding a whole new category. But the Raptors, because I couldn't figure out where to position them, actually got me to put together a whole new category here. And disregard the name. I think the important thing is where that category is. So like, don't take, I guess, too much from the name Fringe Contenders. But yeah, I think the Raptors kind of fit into that similar category of the Heat and of the Suns, where I could see them winning a title this year. I think things need to go right, but let's put it this way, actually, because we've introduced the new category. I think for the Fringe Contenders, a lot less things need to go right than what needs to go right for the needs the right circumstances category. I think that's the best way of putting it. We know the Raptors are good. We know the young guys are only getting better. Again, they do still need things to go right for them. Mainly, obviously, developments to Scotty Barnes, potentially still OG, potentially Gary Trent Jr., Precious Achiuwa, where he is next season is going to be a big factor on the Raptors. But I think they have a great chance. I think they have a really good roster. They've added a few pieces there that have a chance, to be major contributors. Obviously, Otto Porter Jr., I've talked about it before. I'll say it again. I really like that ad. But yeah, I think I like the Raptors and the Fringe Contenders, and I still can't believe that I made a whole new category because of that. But I think I'm glad I did. Hours, and I mean hours, after I was done making this video, the news breaks that the Cleveland Cavaliers have traded for Donovan Mitchell. So when it comes to the talking point about Miami, forget everything I said about D-Mitch and firmly place them, I guess, in Fringe Contenders at best. And for the Cavaliers, actually, I feel comfortable that adding Donovan Mitchell with this young core that's as impressive as it is, as the trade details still kind of break here, pop them into Fringe Contenders. I feel reasonably okay with that. So that more or less does it for me. What do you folks think? Rankings are obviously always tough videos, but I do really enjoy making them. I mean, I've only made 2 of them to this point, but each time that I have, I've had a really good time with it. Although I feel like every time that I look back at it, once I've processed it and everything, I kind of just like look at a few rankings of things and I go, damn, did I really put that there? So you have a chance to tell me which one of the opinions that I've had qualifies under that. So let me know in the comment section below. And just to reiterate the drill from the beginning of the video, if you're still watching this video, you like this video, so hit that like button. It makes a big difference for me and I really appreciate when you do it. And if you're new here, like I said, subscribe to the channel. We're past 1K, but that doesn't mean that's where we stop. It's been JJ Buckets. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see everybody next time.